Do I still feel safe in Panama? I'm sorry to say, things are changing, in my opinion. Let's get into it. You guys know I have been retired in Panama since 2023. I absolutely love being here. And some of the parameters that I and other retirees have looked at include cost of living, cost of medical care or the availability of medical care, safety, political climate, and the lifestyle, the people. And Panama has checked all those boxes. I would get out in the streets, I'm a walker, and feel no sense of worry that I would get assaulted, that I would get robbed, especially after my incident. I started wearing a crossbody, and I felt pretty good. But there have been a couple of things, in the news in the last few months, and then recently a couple of incidents that happened. A couple who looked to be expats were violently assaulted on the street that I live on, maybe quarter miles, a few feet up the road. I'm not posting that video here, but I will put the link in the description. You can look at it. It is public news, so it's not something I am making up. Two ladies, well, they caught the kids. Of course, they're kids doing that, teenagers. Two ladies, it was reported to me, maybe a block from my building, were waiting to cross, on a crosswalk and got their purses snatched. Another sister in an area not too far from where I am had her phone snatched out of her hand from somebody on a bike. Now, people will tell you in places like Colombia, Brazil, that they'll snatch your phone, but this is something that we did not see here in Panama. And of course, that was the one that I know of. Other people have lost their phones, This sister said somebody sat real close to them on the metro and went into the bag. People get robbed at the bus stop, phones again. And me, when I got pickpocketed, I was oblivious. So yes, you would say, well, but you chose to live in the city. That is true. But I picked an area that I felt would be safe. And then now to have this thing happening right in my neighborhood, it gives me pause. So I want to go into a little bit more detail about what's happening, why I feel the way I am feeling right now, and what I'm doing about it. Because of course, there's always an action plan. Okay, so if this is your first time seeing me, my name is Maggie. I am a retired nurse practitioner, and I have been retired in Panama since 2023. I love Panama. I still love Panama. I am also the creator of SWAT, Single Women Retiring Abroad, a group of sassy older ladies who have made a conscious decision to retire here abroad, create community while we reinvent ourselves. Yeah, we have another life to live, another one or two. But as I always say, the ultimate goal of SWAT is to create a model of aging abroad that is sustainable and affordable. So if any of this sounds of any interest to you, I invite you to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, go ahead and subscribe. I'll do a Stephanie Perry on you when I get my notes. I do have some notes. Thank you so much. My reason for coming to you is to share information. I don't try to do videos to get clicks or views. I stick to my craft. I'm a single older woman, and I retired to Panama looking for a safe place to live the rest of my days. And in doing so, I have brought along some sisters who are of the same mindset. And this is what SWAT is about. That's why we are in community, and I had to create community because I don't know anybody here. I don't have family here. All right. Oh, Feliz Mes de la Etnia Negra. That's where the turban, the head wrap comes in. Ooh. You know, this was given to me by my home mom in South Africa when I was with the Peace Corps. And when I said I was leaving, she was shocked. And she said, okay, well, take this. And I have used this as a sarin, you know, like tie it on my shoulder at the beach. It's very versatile, but I'm not an expert in head wrapping. Well, I think this looks pretty snazzy. Thank you. You know, I'll say it to myself and say thank you to myself. So why am I talking about this? Because I said my idea, the reason I chose Panama, one of the reasons was for its safety. And if you watch a lot of videos, people will tell you that they feel safe. But that does not mean there is no crime, of course. But when the crime comes to your neighborhood, it kind of rattles you a little bit. And those two incidents really have rattled me. Now, I speak, you know, moderate Spanish, and I watch the news all the time. And I have to tell you that in the recent months, in the news every day, they would say policivas. That means police work, whatever they're doing. And every single day, they're saying they've arrested so many hundreds. They've had shootings and they found a body. Some, you know, we have hot spots here, like they do everywhere. In Panama, those are Colon, San Miguelito. But in the news recently, we've had some other hot spots coming up, like Don Bosco, El Chorillo, which they've always had some issues there. And what's the other one? Chilibre. So as someone who is, I don't want to say responsible, when I am a communication channel for my ladies, my sisters, who most of them don't speak Spanish. So when I don't really put it in the chat because I don't want to alarm them, but I have seen, and they reported on TVN, an uptick in the homicide. What? We've always had homicides. And I'm going to share some stats with you because I wanted to see if what I'm seeing in Panama right now is unique to Panama or is it worse in the region. I assure you it's not. But it's reported an uptick. And sometimes, yes, you see the young people grab an older person's purse and drag him until they get the purse. They've had some carjacking. We have home invasions in places that are outside the city. So please don't think that, oh boy. So don't think that Panama is, I apologize. And actually, I should take that call, but I can't. But anyway, let's not think that Panama is the worst one in terms of crime, because it's not. Okay, I think I need something underneath my camera here. So you know I'm doing this, and this is ad lib, so I don't want you to feel like, oh, Maggie, what are you doing? Listen, you're my sisters, so there we go. I had to get the phone from underneath my laptop. All right. So Panama is not the worst in the region, okay? So I'm going back and I said, okay, let me see. And we have sisters who have been here 16, 17 years, right? And they might say, oh, you know, we've had issues in the past, and that is true. Remember, my point of reference is from 3 years ago to today. I'm saying that I'm hearing an uptick in violent crime, homicides. I don't know about the home invasion so much, but in those hot spots that, and of course, most of the crime is related to narco trafficking, drugs. Panama is in between two oceans, right? And whenever you have water, you have shipments and you have boats coming in and out. The police stay busy. And very often they would show you they made a big, they had a big catch and they'll find a big truck. And some of the ingenious ways they hide the drug and they have packets and packets. And I'm not talking a little bit of drug, I'm talking about a lot of drugs. And I was reading today that some members of some police force from Colombia, FARC, crossed into Panama probably a few decades ago through the Darien Gap, which is the forest type that is not accessible between Panama and Colombia. And they say they've noticed that the drug trade has, increased since their arrival. I'm just repeating what I saw on Wikipedia. But what are the reasons why we are seeing an uptick in crime? My observation, right? Whenever you have poverty, you're going to have crime. We know that. But when you have a group of kids who don't see a future, and then somebody dangles some hundreds and stuff in front of them, and then in many instances, they don't have a choice. I was watching a documentary not too long ago in another part of the world I won't mention, that people just get taken, recruited, whether you want to or not. So there is that. So it's like a really complex web of issues. All right. So when we look at Panama being in between two oceans with just like a stretch of land, it is very easy for drug trafficking to take hold. And of course, money trumps everything. I remember them interviewing this woman, interviewed a chemist or a biologist in a certain country who was in a lab making fentanyl pills. And she asked him, well, how can you in good conscience do this? First of all, he may not have had a choice. And the second, he said, I'm just trying to send my kids to college. So he has his regular job during the day, and then he does this. It's like a side hustle. When you don't think about what that drug is doing to the kids they're feeding it to. Anyway, I digress. So when you there is a source called USA Facts, and the facts are confirmed by the FBI and some of the organizations, at least for the US. So I wanted to compare the crime rate between Costa Rica, Mexico, Ecuador, Panama, but also the US, of course, because we think of the US as the most violent place on earth, and it's not. It's not. And then this is the thing, when people believe what you see or what you read, and you don't look at facts, even though with my skeptical mind, when you see the data, I'm always like, I don't know. Seriously, nowadays, I question everything. I know me, but anything else is relative to me. I was like, I look at it with a critical eye. Unfortunately, the world has turned me into a skeptic. Really bad one. So what I'm reading, I'm telling you what I read. The overall crime rate in the US, actually in the US was the only one that I was able to find data between violent crime and petty crime. Everybody else, it was like, no, we don't have accurate data for that. So in the US, violent crime in 2024 was 359 per 100,000 population, which is a good number whenever you're looking at data, because they can't tell you for the 4 million, right? Of what is it, 400 million in the US? Over more than that. So 3.59%. It's not that bad. It's not that much. But we all know one is one too many. So 17% of all the crimes committed in the US for that period of time were violent. Okay, if you look at it, it's not 20%, That it doesn't mean it had 20% crime rate. It's saying 17% of all the crimes were violent. That's a very nice distinction, right? Costa Rica. Now, I watch a bunch of videos about what's happening in the region. I don't know what's happening in Costa Rica, Ecuador, our neighbors. We need to know because that's why you can shift if you need to, because you have to be in the know. And again, as I said, this is my job to keep my sisters aware of what's going on. A lot of us are online. We can read stuff for ourselves. My sisters are pretty smart women. Costa Rica has seen an uptick in violent crime, again, that is related to drug trafficking and arms trade. Now, Panama doesn't have that as a problem yet because it's not easy to get guns into the country. I was having a lunch with a sister. She's been here 17 or 19 years. She said it used to be there were no guns in Panama. Now, all the shootings, people killing each other, the kids, 17, 20-year-old, sometimes 14, 15, finding them in the alley, yeah, they get shot. They don't knife people here, they shoot. So where do the guns come from? Yeah. Listen, when you have crime, you have organized crime, anything can get through. And this is a concern. I didn't realize Panama was so much into it. I should have. Look at Noriega and what he was doing. Corruption, the love of money trumps everything. Look what's happening in our country. Oligarchs, money. And once you have a thirst for money, it turns you into something else. You no longer care about people, right? You're gonna grab and kill an older person. It doesn't matter because it's all about the cash. Sadly. Costa Rica's murder rate, 17.2% per 100,000 population. That's still too many. And that's an uptick from the previous years. Mexico is doing better. Their crime rate is going down, 23 per 100,000 population. And the petty crime is about 158 per 100,000. Now, when you think of crime rates, we, as an expat, as a foreigner, most of the crime do not involve us, the violent crimes, right? There was a home invasion somewhere in Chiriquí not too long ago where an expat, and they call it an extranjero, got killed. But that's kind of rare, right? So the violent crime is between the residents fighting drug, I don't know what you call that. That's their little corner, you shouldn't, and that happens over there as well. So Mexico's doing better. The US crime rate is going down, 359 per 100,000. That's not bad at all. That's 3.59%. Okay, Ecuador, that was a OMG for me. It was an eye-opener, 50.6% per 100,000 population. Now you hear about Ecuador, you hear about them shooting the mayor and people who just going to say, we're going to stamp out corruption and whatever. When you are dealing with people with guns, with power, you are nothing, not even a speck of dust. And since they have no conscience, you just something, not even somebody to be eliminated. That's just the name of the game. So Ecuador ranked really high. Actually, for the whole region I looked at, they have the highest homicide rate. And of course, related to narco trafficking. Now let's come to beautiful Panama, 12.9%. So Panama is doing the best in the region, okay? So when I say I am worried and I am concerned, I am going to keep this in mind, okay? So that I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, I'm saying, oh my God, but I have to keep it in context, okay? So how does that make me feel? Listen, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this conversation and this data. I am watching videos about people traveling through Latin America and Central America. And the other day, this couple, and they kind of like to kind of give us the reality check. They're like, yeah, you may not like it, but we're going to tell you. We're not going to tell you that all these countries are beautiful. Yeah, the sky is beautiful, the countryside, the sea, the ocean. That is true. But don't overlook the reality on the ground. And I am kind of in the middle. I'm always a centrist. I'm never going to say, oh, Panama is this utopia. And I always tell people, and if you watch my videos, it's like, you need to walk in here with your eyes open. Even Sunday, I went over again the medical insurance. And this person chimed in, Panama has the best healthcare. I'm like, compared to what? Right? People like to repeat some stuff that they've heard from someone and not rooted in concrete data. I'm not that person, okay? I'm so objective and so rational, it borders on, you know, people used to tell me, you are just too strong. I'm like, I like reality. I like data. I don't like to sugarcoat anything. That's why when I was in my business, when people walk into my office, Miss Maggie, and they're going to tell me a problem, I tell them, you bring a problem, bring me 3 possible solutions. This is not, we're not going to sit here and keep chatting about the same thing. What do you have in mind? How can we fix it? Same mindset here, okay? We're looking at Panama. Panama is beautiful. The people are nice. I'm going to do another video to follow this because, again, some things are shifting. Some things are shifting. And if you don't believe anybody else, trust your sis Maggie. I have a good sense of what's going on. I don't sugarcoat things. I'm very observant. And I don't make decisions rashly, but I'm going to say, this is it. This is what it is. Because you don't want to come here and then say, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. You should know. All right? So I am feeling a little bit unsettled. I don't go out there, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing to mitigate what I see happening. I can't do anything about narco trafficking. I can't do anything about what's happening in Cologne. The police is doing their best. We, as the citizenry, we need to do what we can. And as expats, we need to know what's going on in our area, out of our area, and if there is anything we can do to protect ourselves, that's what we should do, right? Don't, on this little overpass where the ladies got robbed, sometimes it's kind of a nice little loop. I'm walking to go from one part of the road to the other side. That's how you cross, right? This beautiful red rim overpass, right? But very, very rarely do I see, because we have the police sometimes that patrol that area and they would come up and go as a deterrent. I don't know. But if I am up there, the cars are going down and somebody grabs my purse, I'm on my own. And if I fight, he might push me over. So you are kind of unprotected, right? And after I got robbed or pickpocketed, before somebody corrects me, I was, backpack. That was a bad decision, right? But if you have a little purse over your shoulders, easy for them to grab it. So you put it across your shoulder, they still can drag you with it. I wear a crossbody. It's easy for someone to have, if they're really close to you, get some scissors and cut it off and take it. Listen. You do what you can, but you cannot eliminate all the possibilities of how you can become a victim of crime. So you want to be aware and you want to do what you can. So, as I said, I am feeling a bit unsettled. I don't go, I used to go out there and walk. I remember one year I came to Panama and I walked from Casco Viejo all the way to the Executive Hotel, which is close to Oh, what is that road? You know, it was a long walk. It was at night. And I felt fine. But now I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Where I live, I have to walk 2 blocks to the metro station, which is my favorite way to travel, to get around. But that area, those 2 blocks, we have homeless people, prostitute, and it's sometimes not a great area. So before this, I would say, okay, I can go during the day up to about 7 or 8 p.m. When it starts getting dark, then I don't, then I will Uber. But now, even in the morning, gives me pause. It gives me pause. I'm not going to be going out there so much. I'm going to be using more Uber. And certainly on my road that I thought was really safe, I go during the day. I'm not going at night. The overpass, I think about that. The other day I needed to cross, but the one that close to me is usually deserted, maybe just me. The other day I was on it and I was like doing this. And you know, sometimes you have your phone in your hand and that's when they could grab it. So I just go ahead and put it in with the girls here. And I was walking, just looking around. I don't like that. I don't like to feel that I am on alert all the time. This is the one thing I have to say about that. In my building, I feel safe. Unless now we have a whole new group of security people. I like the old one that I'm used to, but sometimes people get robbed in apartments from the staff, the people who live here, especially if you have a routine. I feel kind of protected because the other day I lost my key and I had to call a carrejería, which is a locksmith, to come and change the locks. So not even my landlord has a key. So I feel kind of protected inside my apartment. But like last night, I was at the gym like what, 11 o'clock? Things happen inside the gym. They do have a camera. But the thing is, before you could get some help, something could have happened. On that overpass, it gives me pause now. But in order for me to get to a light, because it's like an 8-lane road with a median, I don't have a choice but to take it. So what I do when I get to the crosswalk, I kind of wait to see if somebody else is crossing, and then I got to gauge that somebody. The other day I was walking there, and then this guy was behind me, and I kept doing this. One, my sister said she got the pepper spray. I need to get some pepper spray. I don't like to feel like I have to do that in my older years and living in beautiful Panama. So I think the takeaways for me would be, what are we doing about it? Be alert. I'm going to continue to watch the news and see what's happening and report it to my sisters and act accordingly. Like I said, I'm not walking as much. I'm alert. If somebody's close to me, I'm going to get the pepper spray and make sure there's somebody on that ledge, on that overpass with me when I'm crossing it. At the bus stop, I don't feel threatened or whatever, because I always have a crossbody. And that's another thing I'm going to say with the crossbody. So be sensitive to subtle changes. Be in the know what's going on. And if there is a crime that's happening in the area, a lot of us are on Tráfico Panama and other media outlets, then we know what's going on. Then information is disseminated through those WhatsApp groups, right? But after it happens, what does that do for you, right? Carry yourself with humility. This is the thing also as an expat. In the area where I am, where all these crimes are happening, people can see you as a foreigner. And even based on the videos I'm seeing in these areas where you have poverty, foreigners are seen as easy targets, right? Whether they invade your home to steal your stuff, or they pickpocket you, or they grab and assault you to get what you have. Yes, Yes, you are a target by virtue of being a foreigner who is seen as having more than they have. And I have to tell you, when I first, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, guys. Come on. This is, I'm giving you the tea. Those are the next step, what you need to do to keep yourself safe. When I first came, and I tell you, I see the changes happening from 2023 to now. And again, somebody who's been here 19 years could say, oh, this is not new, this is happening. It's new to me. It's a change that I'm seeing. So allow me that. When I used to get on the metro, somebody would start talking to me on the bus or the metro, and then I would answer, and they would hear my accent. That's like, it is Panamanian. I'm like, no, no soy Panamanian. And they're like, oh, parece Panamanian. You know, they say, you look Panamanian. Now they see me coming. Hello, how are you? So now nobody thinks that I may be Panamanian. What has changed? And I tell you what has changed. So many of us are here now. And again, supply and demand. The more of us come here, the more American, Canadian, and it's not just American, expats, foreigners come here, you're going to see the uptick because they see us as prime target. They rob them in Casco Viejo. They've been robbing them on Central Avenue. They're in the news every day. Things happen in Costa del Este. So people think, oh, I'm in Costa del Este, you know, I'm in the burbs. Don Bosco, I was looking at that. I took a bus and went through it because they have, you know, cheaper rent. When I saw these little homes and I'm like, I saw the high rises. I don't like the way they look. And the little homes, somebody can invade, get in there easily. It's like a no bueno, not for me. All right. So we are prime target just by who we are. So when I say carry yourself with humility, it's just don't do things to attract attention. We had a little scuffle between an expat and some people who were protesting something, and he got in there. You know, we had the incident where the older man shot two teachers. That was awful. But you know, I'll go into a store and I'm just shopping and I'm like, I'm keeping a low profile, you know, I'm not loud. And then here comes a group of us. You know what? I hate to say it, but we tend to be loud. I go to restaurant with people, I have to almost all the time saying, I don't know why. Why do we have to elevate? Keep it down, sis, okay? You don't need to attract attention to yourself. Don't bring your American self on display for everybody to see. Then somebody who's sitting over there, who's part of that group, that gang, say, there's another one that follow you, that, you know, we got to think about it. The way we dress, look at the dress code in the city and adjust. Don't walk around with your lazy duke, whatever we call it, with your butt cheeks out. Yes, you are. And your speech, keep it calm. Be kind. Be nice to people. Don't berate the server. Don't yell saying, oh, I've been sitting on 15 minutes. Nobody's come to take my order. You're not in America. Things don't move that fast here. And that's a whole different video that we've done so many of those. Adjust yourself. Conduct yourself. Don't attract attention. One thing I am going to do that I noticed, after I lost my key, I said, you know what? I need to get a lanyard with a plastic thing and put maybe my ID, because, you know, if I fall, I want somebody to know who I am, my ID and my keys in there. And I'm thinking, I went to the store the other day, and of course, it's going to be harder to find what I'm looking for, because when I wear a crossbody, I feel like I'm attracting attention because the local ladies do not wear crossbodies. The moment you wear a crossbody, it's like, ding, ding, here's another one, you're a foreigner. As I'm trying to protect my coins, my credit card, my ID on my chest, I am broadcasting that I am a foreigner. So I'm going to change that because I want to blend in as much as possible. Okay, So what's the next thing that I'm saying we need to do? Carry yourself with humility and gratitude. Be kind, don't be loud, don't be flashy. Because some people can't help themselves. I see them. And a sister the other day said, sometimes I see American acting a certain way and I'm embarrassed. Because now with the immigration coming in, that we see all kinds of people are coming in. People who are educated and some, the mannerism. So the same way they were over there, loud and flashy and rude, they're here too, unfortunately. And you're like, ooh, how do you remove yourself from there? You can't, because the moment they see you coming, they're like, oh, here's one. And it's easy for people to generalize, to think of all of us being the same, even though we're not. But anyway, all right? Realize you're living in the city. And I know some person's going to say right now, I know, well, you chose to live in the city. I live in whatever, and we don't have crime. I'm happy for you, sir. But I have a reason I'm in the city, and I don't think I'm going to take the time to explain to you. I don't need to. We all make our own choices, and I'm living with it, with my choice, and I am making changes. I'm making adjustment. So I don't need you to tell me that. Yes, this was my choice. Thank you. So the self-awareness, head on a swivel. Yes, it's easy to say head on a swivel. But what I'm saying is, I really didn't want to have to be so on hyper alert and looking around. I don't like that feeling. I don't like it. And I chose Panama. That's one of the reasons I chose Panama, that I could just, but if you tell me, at least I feel safe in the apartment, because in the US, I got to a point I didn't even feel safe in my house, because I know it was anytime of the night, somebody could burst in and point and tell me I look like someone. Yeah, you just like very disposable over there. But at least the police is not harassing us here, and we don't have to fear for our lives, even in our own bed. But we have to be aware, okay? Don't wear flashy jewelry. Well, these were given to me by my mom. And I don't have flashy jewelry. I don't have gold and stuff. So what you see here, that's it. If somebody's gonna rip it out of my ear, well, I guess they're gonna have to get it. Acculturation, adjust yourself to the culture, whatever it is. Another video, you know that, cultural norms, you need to know them. Your new normal. Yeah, from 2023, this is a new normal for me to say, oh, there are a lot of us here. They see us as target, and we're going to be more at risk of being robbed or assaulted or whatever. So be aware. Realize that crime is everywhere. And I just gave you some data. Yes, it's everywhere. And when they are interviewing people who live in San Miguelito or people who live in Cologne, you don't think they're aware? You don't think they're worried about what's happening in their city, their beloved city? Oh yeah, it hurts. I see them. And of course, you got people like Michael Chen. He's trying so hard, because what they say is that you have to address the root of the problem, the desperation and lack of opportunities, lack of financial. People don't have the means to take care of themselves. And when you're in poverty, and somebody dangles something in front of you, of course you're going to be tempted. And when they arrest people, it's not just the young kids. Sometimes I see them when they're 50s. I'm like, you in your 50s, what are you doing? Yes. Reframe your thinking. So I have to reframe my thinking and adjust to my new normal. Again, just like I tell you, don't come here with stars in your eye. I need to start seeing Panama for one of its neighbors, that it's not that, country elevated up here that things don't happen here. Mm-mm. But I still love Panama. Don't get it twisted. Reevaluate your why. That's it. If I didn't say anything today, when challenges show up, whether abroad, well, now it's here. You moved here for a reason. Yes, you had your 5 major whys or must-haves, but your overall why you're here will keep you here. When the crime starts to tick up, when other things happen that you don't like, why am I here? I was talking to a sister the other day. Something happened to her. And I don't think I'm at liberty to say it, but it was something that kind of broke her spirit a little bit and broke mine. I didn't ask her for permission to use her story, so I'm not going to say it. But it was a very unpleasant thing that happened, something unexpected here in Panama to her as a Black woman. So this is where I said, just reframe your thinking that you're not in La La Land. This is not utopia. This is everyday life. And the things that you see over there sometimes are here too. And how you're going to deal with it. So if your why is strong enough, it's going to keep you here. You're going to reframe your thinking. You're going to make adjustment. And you're going to say, I'm still grateful. I'm still happy to be here. It's still better here than there, right? Then you can adjust, even after you become a victim of a crime, right? Explore your options. I always say explore your options. So everywhere on social media now, you hear influencers saying, you need to have more than one residency. You need to have option 1, 2, or 3. Yes. Because if it gets to a point, let's say you become victim of a major crime, your life was in danger or whatever, you may decide to leave. But do you have options? Where will you go? I'm starting to think about different options myself. Because I'm never going to say, I'm never going to live here. I'm always, never and always, I don't like to use in my vocabulary because life is so fluid. It's so fluid. So explore your options. Make sure you have options so that if it gets to a point where you can't stay in one place, you have options to go over there. We have a sister who was here for so many years. She's moving to Thailand. People are going to Kenya and other places. Listen, you're grown. It's your life. Whatever you decide to do is your own decision, right? I'm not there yet. I'm reframing my thinking. I am readjusting, reevaluating, right? Because the good is still better than whatever I'm talking about right now. Is Panama still welcoming and a good option? As far as I know, yes. I was talking to a sister yesterday who's coming, and I said, there might come a time where this pensionario visa is changed. It's different. Look what happened to Portugal. Rick and Halisi mentioned Sunday that Portugal is asking now from a 5-year, 10-year before you can become, is it a citizen? Yeah. Listen, there is a wave. Oh, Lord, I don't want to get into that one. There's a wave of anti-immigrant sentiment. It's been brewing. Look what's happening in South Africa. So it may not be pervasive here, but I'm feeling that maybe there is a little bit of it that's starting to take hold. Maybe it's me. Remember, I'm very sensitive to vibration. When I go on the metro, I read people's faces. And yes, I'm feeling a little bit of a change. Yes. And again, I think it's directly related to the number of us coming in. Even though Panama is very welcoming and very used to having foreigners. Because, same thing in some countries. They don't mind tourists. They mind when you choose to stay. That's why you keep it low, keep a low profile. And mind yourself. And don't attract attention. Just be grateful. Don't just throw yourself out there, always out there, showing this, showing that. Well, I post too, so I might be part of the problem. Is Panama still a good option? Heck yeah. $1,000 to get a pensionario visa. Cost of living, right? No police brutality, relatively calm politically, plus, plus, plus. Do your assessment, sis. The decision is yours. Remember your why, okay? Like I said, no gaslighting. You know, I will never come on here after I read about crime happening here, happening there, and just get on the video and say, this is happening in Panama. This is my new home. They welcome me in here. It's not my job to flash the dirty laundry out there for everybody to see. I would call out you. You're very ungrateful, you know. I don't ever want to be one of those. I'm always, not just here, a very grateful person. If you do something for me, I'll always remember it. Always. Okay? No gaslighting. Be grateful. I am grateful. All right. So I'm telling you, I feel a little bit unsettled. Could be temporary. Maybe I'll go back to feeling secure again when I'm up and about. But right now, head on a swivel, no crossbody. Don't walk the streets like I used to. And be aware of your environment. Who's behind you, especially when I'm on that ledge, on that crosswalk, going from one side to the other. Unfortunately, I can't just, unless I take an Uber, if I'm going to go cross to take a bus, so I can change my route. I can change my route. So if I need to go, let's say I want to go to Multiplaza, I like to take the bus, but I have to cross that. But if I decide it's not so safe for me to cross that, then I can take a bus this way, go to Cinco de Mayo, and then take the other bus to Multiplaza. There are things you can do. You readjust. You readjust. I'm not the, oh my God, I'm not that person, not that chick. I'm a problem solver. So whatever it is, I get it head on and say, okay, what are my options? 1, 2, 3, do my little research. I'm gonna go with 2. That's the way I've lived my life, always, always. So sis, it's not hopeless. I'm just readjusting, refocusing. I am looking at my why. My why is still strong. I'm still better off here than over there. I'm not running to Ecuador. Colombia, I didn't look at Colombia, but I'm sure it's no better than Panama. Panama still looks so much better in terms of crime than all the other places we looked at. But you can't compare Panama to the US because it's like a little David and the Goliath, right? Hotspots in the US. And that's why when they're trying to say, oh, look at, what is it? Not Memphis, Chicago and other places. And yeah, but that's 1 out of 50. Come on. Oh, not even 50. It's because it's a city. So just be encouraged, sis. Be grateful. Be proactive. Keep yourself in the know. Join the Facebook group so you know what's going on. Don't act like the entitled loud expat. Stay in your lane. Just don't attract attention to yourself. Some people are like big and expensive and they're always talking about how beautiful, wonderful, everything is beautiful in Panama. You know me, I'm not like that. I'm always going to tell you the truth, but I kind of frame the truth with being very objective and in a critical, I'm not criticizing, I'm just sharing information. You make with it what you want, and you make your decision based on how you move around the world. And I know how I'm going to be moving around Panama going forward because I still want to stay in the city for the many reasons that I talked about before. All right. So this is all I have today. Look at my, this looks so good. Feliz mes de la etnia negra. I'll see you next time. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bye.